Hi there, this is another video in our series of common outreach questions where Kerry and I ask each other questions that we have been asked when doing outreach. Danica might have a few questions. You've got some questions to ask, darling? You got some questions to ask?
Yeah, when do I get my tea?
Danica's saying, when do I get my tea? Let's just do this and you can have your tea. Okay, so I think you've got a question that you want to talk about today, Kerry.
Very relevant for the moment.
Okay.
There are more important things going on in the world than animal rights. You should be focusing on that.
Okay, yeah, that's a question that we get asked a lot. Do you want me to answer it first? Yeah. When Danica stops licking my hand. Stop licking my hand, baby. Yeah, there are a lot of important things that are going on in the world. As we record this, there's the general election in this country, in the UK. There's the upcoming election in America. Perhaps a bit more pressingly, there's what's going on in Gaza. There's always something going on. There's always wars or famines or plagues or earthquakes or whatever. And all of those things are really important. This is what I say. I say all those things are really important, and there's nothing to stop you getting involved with those. But none of these things are exclusive. So you can do something about the war in Gaza. You can raise money to send aid over there. You can be active politically. If it's is it Pride Month this month as we record? I think it is. It's Pride Month. Of course, you can go on Pride marches and that sort of thing. You can fight for trans rights and all those sorts of things. But at the same time, you can still be vegan. It's not like you can only do one thing. So if someone's politically active in the general election, then they're still going to be concerned about Gaza. If someone is passionate about trans rights, and they're still going to be interested in the election or still interested in animal rights. That you can do more than one thing at once. So yeah, there are very important things, but as to whether there are more important things, and this is where it gets a bit controversial. If you compare the scale of animal suffering compared to all other suffering, and I've done posts about this on Facebook, and I might actually do a video about this in more detail. But if you look at the number of animals that suffer literally every single second of every single day, it dwarfs all other forms of oppression. If you add up all the deaths and all the suffering from all the forms of oppression, human starving and things like that, it is as nothing compared to the suffering of the animals.
Just sea animals alone is nearly 3 trillion a year.
Exactly. So that's how I would answer that question. What about yourself? How do you address that? You're going to come and sit with me?
For once, very similar.
Okay.
But I like to put a twist on it and say you can go out and you can volunteer and speak up about all these things. You can go on protest marches, much like you said about Pride and what's happening in Israel and Gaza and everything. But there's something very, very simple that you can do to make a gigantic difference in the world. And you could choose to do that 3 times a day, 10 minutes. That's all it takes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're literally walking into a shop and you're choosing the vegan products as opposed to the non-vegan products.
Which are now placed like 5 feet away from one another.
Well, often it's not even 5 feet. Often it's literally that hand rather than that hand.
And I think that's a really nice way of putting it so that people get it in perspective. It's actually just going about my daily life. I can do something, I can make a difference rather than actually having to go out and do a protest. So if anything, veganism's easier than doing those things.
Yeah.
And it makes an even bigger impact because even as people sort of say, well, animals, what are animals compared to humans? Veganism affects humans. It affects humans in the sense that we've got refugees coming over and they're being put to work in slaughterhouses. Some of them illegally. They're suffering with many, many, mental health issues. They're turning to alcoholism. They're turning to drugs just to cope with what they're witnessing. So that's human exploitation for starters. The industry itself is so horrific that people are suffering as a result. And then we've got to take into consideration all the children that are in the countries where we grow grain to feed to livestock in order to, produce meat for the world. If the statistics are still correct, then it's I think it's something like we currently grow enough food to feed 10 billion people, and yet millions starve every year or go without water. Meanwhile, cattle.
Yeah, and that's because we're feeding that food, we're feeding that grain to cattle to fatten them up rather than feeding it to the starving. So, is it something like 20,000 people every day die of starvation?
Something.
And a significant number of those are in countries that grow enough.
I think it's 87%.
So you're better at figures than I am, but yeah, a lot of those are in countries where enough food is grown, it's just fed to cattle.
So as much as we like to focus on the ethics for the animals, and as much as animals are our main concern, I think something to always highlight when people say this to you, that there are more important things. Well, your fellow human beings are suffering as a result of animal agriculture too.
Yeah, I have used that argument several times. So, sometimes you're talking to people and they just basically don't give a damn about the animals.
They're there to rant at you about a particular topic.
I quite often say, even if you don't give a damn about the animals, even if you don't care one iota about their suffering, look at the exploitation of humans in animal agriculture. Look at what animal agriculture is doing to the environment. Look what animal agriculture is doing to your health. So there are lots of great reasons to be vegan.
Climate change. Something that's just happened today, and it's not confirmed yet, but there's a high percentage chance that the presenter, Dr. Michael Mosley, has just passed away in Greece, and I think it's predominantly due to heat exposure, and that was in Greece. I think the temperature was 45 degrees. Greece has always been a hot country, there's no denying it, but global warming is happening, and places are getting more and more difficult to survive in. So, yeah.
And the single biggest thing that almost any one of us can do, unless you're a multimillionaire that flies around in jets all the time, the single most significant thing that each one of us can do to help climate change is to go vegan.
I think it's animal agriculture is responsible for all transportation combined. Doesn't even come close to what animal agriculture produces in terms of emissions. And you can actually see on the World Health Organization website the statistics. A lot of people will come at you and say avocados are imported, or your vegan food is imported, and you're causing a lot more issues there. Beef, if you look at the bars considered to avocado, is something like this in terms of emissions. Beef, it's like this. That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's local beef. That's just the very nature of it being a cow in a field.
Yeah. Sorry if the sound of this recording's been overshadowed by Vanika's licking, but she's a very, very licky doggy. Hopefully she'll appear in lots more of our videos with a bit less licking. Say bye, Vanika. Say bye. 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 Bye, guys. Okay, so thank you for that. If you enjoyed that discussion, then please like, share, and
subscribe.
Should we say something else? Okay. Bye.